Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show.
The Garden of England was burning all around me. There were boarded buildings and the orchards all were empty. And I walked past the oak tree, and we spread our dog's ashes in the breeze.
Welcome, everybody. I'm lucky enough to have an awesome band out of Canada called The Wilderness. I have Jonas, Nick, and Karl here. So we got a nice little day ahead of us of some awesome music chat. But first and foremost, thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So, who wants to give the superhero origin story of how the wilderness came about?
Uh, the superhero origin story happened on one snowy, fateful night, January 2015. Karl and Hank, our drummer, and our guitar player at the time, Sasha, had been playing a bunch of open mics around town. I was a lowly barkeep, and I was working at this place called Musiki, and it was an open mic night, and it was an apocalyptic snowstorm outside. So Karl and Sasha and Hank were the only people, I think, who showed up to the open mic. And I was there just hanging out at the bar that I worked at the time, and said, well, you guys are here. Do you want to jam? And I kind of knew them from around the scene. So we played some music together. And then right afterwards, I was like, okay, sick. Like, I've got a place where we can rehearse tomorrow. We should totally be a band. And everybody showed up for a rehearsal tomorrow, or the next day rather. And it went what we thought was very well. And then we said, all right, so we're a band now, right? And then, what are we going to call the band? And Karl just said, we should call it The Wilderness. And we were like, yep, that works.
Yeah, there was no questions about it. We just kind of were plowing full steam ahead.
So, was there any apprehension, Karl, like of just meeting up with this guy and coming into a room and just being like, "Hey, we're a band now"?
Not at all. I found it very refreshing because I was like trying to just do music with Sasha and Henry, and Sasha and Henry both sort of peripherally knew Jonas. I think I was the only one that hadn't met him before, and so I trusted their judgment of this guy. And also, like, very quickly upon meeting Jonas, I realized like this guy has a fire burning in his belly, and he is like. He's the guy to put jet fuel in our gas tank and really get going, because we had that practice. We decided on the band name, and the next day Jonas already had a Facebook page that sent it to all his friends and family. So we got like 300 of his friends and family following us immediately, and it really didn't take us long to get our first like gigs. Yeah, so for me it was an apprehension. It was a relief of having those boosters behind you.
Yeah, standing back and watching someone with a vision and willing to work hard for it, that's pretty remarkable to be in a room with someone like that.
Yeah, totally. And like, as a songwriter, he was so like, accomplished already, having written all these songs. So like, if anything, it was just like, okay, now we know what our workload is, because we have to all figure out how to play these. I don't know, we probably started off with like 6 songs before we ever had a rehearsal that we had to already work on.
Yeah, and when you start to get together and you have these songs that you all have to start collaborating on and working on, was it hard for you, Jonas, to give your vision of what you wanted the song to be and let everybody play their bit parts, or was it a full total collaboration of seeing what they could do with what you already created?
I was just so hungry to play in a band. Like, I'd been doing the sort of solo musician thing, but I grew up in the UK and had been playing in bands for my entire like high school career. And then I really felt like a fish out of water, just sort of jerking off with it's not the right word, jerking around. I don't know. Just screwing around with an acoustic guitar. I really missed having a band. So, when we had that very first rehearsal and I had all these songs, and I was like, oh, let's just jam and see what happens, see how it goes. It was just like so exhilarating. To have like a band behind those songs and be back in that sort of 3 Musketeers or 6 Musketeers in our case scenario. So I was just stoked to see what they could do. And it's also worth mentioning that everybody else in the band is a far better musician than I am. I'm a kind of 4 chords and that's it kind of guy. And the rest of the guys,
not even the truth,
4 chords and a bunch of bullshit. So just to see
3
the
chords
guys
and a half truth.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to see the guys, and this is, got like 9 years ago now, to see the guys sort of just figuring out these songs so quickly, I was just so stoked.
Coming up with the music, and there's, you have Nick, you play saxophone, right?
Yes, mostly, among other things.
Yeah, among other things. I mean, keyboards, axe, vocals, but I mean, it takes a certain kind of musicianship for a saxophonist to be a part of, a rock band. And there's not many bands that can do it well. And you guys have succeeded with that. What do you think, Nick, as a saxophone player, that you brought different dimensions to the music? Like, how did you feel that it would fit into the songs as they were being created?
Well, I think to best answer that question, I should tell you how I got involved with the band in the first place. Jonas and Karl and Henry and Sasha started the group as a 4-piece, and I kind of got like kidnapped a little bit. I also sort of knew these guys from around town, and I had like seen them play and all this stuff. And one day they said to me like, "Hey, we're putting together a big gig and we want, a handful of backup singers and a horn player." And I said, "Okay." And I played this one gig with them. And then after that, they're like, "All right, bud, quit your job, clear your calendar. Like, you're in the band. Like, come on tour." For that gig, I basically listened to the demo that these guys had and just improvised and made stuff up and sort of wrote saxophone parts to go with it. And I just put saxophone on everything. And I think at the time we were just stoked about having a horn there because it felt good. There were solos. It was like, it's a sound that people like. But over the course of, how long have I been in this band now? Like, what, 7 years?
7 years, yeah.
Yeah. Over the course of
Is there a
7
ransom
years,
out there for you or something? Like,
Nick, blink twice if you need to escape.
right. Nobody's gonna see me. Anyways, yeah, over the course of like 7 years, that role has really shifted from like just being like a fun guy who like improvises a little bit on the side to a real collaborator. And I actually owe a lot of thanks to my bandmates for that. We've really pushed for the saxophone to be like textures in some spots and like a solo instrument in some spots. And like, sometimes I'm playing bass lines with Karl, sometimes I'm playing synth lines with Liam. There's a lot of cool opportunities to put that kind of thing there. And I think we've always tried to stray away from like the sort of stereotypical cheesy overdone saxophone sound as
like
best
a Timmy
we can.
Capella in a rock song or something?
Right.
I mean, every time Nick is recording the saxophone, I'm always like, "Nick, that was great, but like, do it more like Clarence Clemens." Yeah. That's what we were going for. We just want, like, if we can be more like Bruce and Clarence, then the happier I'll be.
Well, I mean, it does, listen, and not to blow smoke, but some of it does come off as very Clarence Clemens. And
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and Springsteen. I mean, you even have a song Atlantic City. I mean, I'm a Jersey boy. I was born, they handed me a Springsteen CD, so it's one of those things. But I mean, and that's what I mean. It's very tough to incorporate a brass instrument into rock music and make it come off without sounding forced.
Right. Well, and the interesting part about this whole thing is now, like, I don't just play saxophone in this group. These guys have given me an opportunity to sing a lot of backup vocals, to play a bunch of percussion, to play the acoustic guitar, and I do a lot of that on this new album. I play keyboards on some songs, and for me, like, what this has turned into has been like, now instead of having oodles of saxophone over every single thing, which I think is how it started, now the saxophone is like a little treat that we get to hear.
They have to let you do other things because you're kidnapped, so they want to keep you happy, as happy as they can.
Stockholm syndrome, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when you are, I mean, you do have a new album coming out, which, the tracks that have already been released are absolutely killer. And
Thank you.
There are, there's this gap, right? There's this time space continuum that we had to go through in the world from when your last full length album came out to now. Was that entire time spent on, what the next step was going to be, or were you a little after, Until Tomorrow came out and, the rare year that 2020 was it just continuously focusing on moving forward and coming up with new tunes and saying, "Hey, listen, we can do this bigger, we can do this better"?
Brev?
Well, yeah, there was definitely a sentiment of we can do this bigger and we can do this better. I think over 2020 generally, we learned a lot of lessons, and a big one was about timing. and how there's lots of forces out there that are outside of your control you can't do anything about. And so that's why we recorded our first album in March of 2020, and we ended up releasing it in August of 2020, and we didn't get to promote it a whole lot. So in the years in between now and then, we first were chomping at the bit to get our opportunity to get out on the road and promote the record that we never got a chance to promote, and to really try to make these songs come across to people in our live show, because from the beginning, that's sort of been our bread and butter. We were always like a live band, and for us, being in the studio has been a much longer journey of figuring out how to do that right, and how to get the perfect sort of production behind our tracks. And so in a way in which they sound like we think that they should. So after doing a decent amount of touring across Canada, we then, rented this house, which we got a remarkable deal on an island nearby Kingston where we live. And we sort of set up a pseudo studio there. We only had the lease for 6 months, so we knew it was all going to be temporary, but we thought this is going to be the wilderness HQ that we all gather at every Tuesday night. We went there and we would just hang out on Tuesday nights and have a sleepover and watch Band of Brothers and make dinner. And
was Nick tied to the bed at this time, or what?
I'm not answering that kind of question publicly. It's not that kind of show.
It's more of a dog kennel. But anyways, we were just hanging out on Tuesday nights, and then Wednesdays are sacred band day where we just do everything. So we were already there, and then we would spend our Wednesdays just setting up a sort of temporary studio there, doing demo tracks, songwriting together. And then over that 6 months, we were able to sort of flesh out all of this new album to the point where we're ready to take this into a real studio and get that, sort of chef's kiss production on it. And what you're hearing in the tracks that have come out is largely the result of that.
It was a very strange time. I mean, as it was for everybody, particularly us as a band, right? Karl just mentioned that we finished recording our first full-length LP. And I think our last day in the studio was 4 days before the first COVID lockdown. And so there was a sort of weird sort of purgatory that we were all in, where we were like, do we tour this album? We can't tour this album because of COVID. All of our brain power is on that album. So we don't really know if we should just move on to the next thing. And then, there were some opportunities to play during COVID. And then there were a few false starts. We wrote the first song for Strangers I Used to Love in November of 2020, because there was a sort of an ease in one of the lockdowns, and we could get together and be in a room and sort of hang out for a couple of days. So we did. And then we would kind of get into the groove of songwriting. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, the restrictions have been lifted. Get out there and promote that album that you just, spent a bunch of time working on. So the pandemic really threw a spanner in the works, because there was this constant whiplash of okay, do we push this album or do we work on the next one? And as Karl said, we got to October of last year and we felt like, okay, now we really gotta put our heads down and work on something new. And it's really crazy to think that it's actually taken us 4 years to come up with a new record.
But on the bright side of things, one of the nice things I'm going to remember about COVID is that it gave us the opportunity to do things that we'd never done before, and I don't think we'll ever necessarily do again. For example, when we made the music video for If I Have to Die, that was during a semi-lockdown period. And so we had to figure out a solution of how do we make a music video when we can't all be in the same room. And so what we did with that is we hired an animator, and we got footage of all of us playing as individuals in sort of a blank space room. And that animator sort of put us all into the same room together in the video. And so I thought that was a very cool idea at the time, just to try to get around the restrictions. And another thing was we got to play a drive-in movie theater, one of those shows. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was super fun and super interesting.
Now let's get a little bit of personal with everyone. Everyone will have the same question, but I'll start with the captive person, Nick.
Hi, I'm still here.
Okay, good. When you were growing up, what was it that led you to music and figuring out what it was and what changed for the first time? Like, did you grow up in a musical household? Was there something that caught your attention first that you said, wow, I love the sound of this. I want to figure out more about music?
Yeah, I mean, on a broad level, like both my parents love music. My dad is a guitar player. He's a big like studio tinkerer guy, and my mom is just a lover of music. But I can pinpoint the moment where I was like, oh, I want to play music. And that moment was like being 11 years old, playing Halo 3 on my Xbox 360 and like rifling through my stepbrother's CD collection and finding a copy of Master of Puppets and putting that on while I was playing Halo 3. And like when I first heard the chorus of the first song on that album, Battery, I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And then I was like, okay, Pops, you got to show me how to play guitar. You got to show me how to play guitar. I want to do that. And I ran with it. I like playing guitar, and it was a lot of heavy metal at the time, but like playing guitar really became like the thing that I clung onto as like my central identity piece. It became the thing that like I really resonated with and that I showed to people. And I'm like, this is the thing that I do. And I just kind of kept doing that. I was in bands in high school. I was in metal bands at the time, playing guitar, drums.
What was the name of the very first band you were in?
Oh boy. Well, I was in sorry, 1 second.
I'm putting a pop filter on his microphone. Sorry. He's a very plosive boy.
Sorry.
There you go.
Nice. Yeah, it's a little better. Yes, the very first band I was in a rock band in high school called Mint. We played like one gig at a family function somewhere with a bunch of Guns N' Roses covers. And then the first band that I really sort of ran with and did a lot of stuff with was a metal band when I was in high school called Unbowed. They're still around, I think, but they're based in Guelph and I'm here in Kingston. So I'm a little busy playing saxophone and trying to play rock and roll instead.
Jonas, how about you? What was the first thing that led you to music, and can you pinpoint what you heard that was like you heard something different for the first time? You're like, I need to know more about this.
There's a couple moments that I can really think about in my childhood. Like I've always been obsessed with music. My earliest memory of music was my dad had the Beatles' greatest hits on cassette, and I was probably about 6 years old. And I was listening to I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles, and I kept rewinding it and trying to write the lyrics down. And I was just so captivated by the idea of music from a very young age. Growing up, I listened to all kinds of different stuff. And like as a teenager, I was very much into like heavy metal and screamo and stuff like that. And I played in a bunch of different bands. Like there was a band called the Painkillers and stuff like that. We with like sort of typical teenage like angst kind of music. But I think when I really decided like this is it for me, this is everything I live and breathe, was I got a bass guitar when I was like 12 years old, and I learned how to play some of like my favorite Blink-182 songs and stuff like that on the bass. And then the town I grew up in, Canterbury, had a very vibrant like busking community, sort of street performing community. So one Christmas I decided that I wanted to do it too. I was probably like 13 or 14, but you couldn't do that with a bass. But my mum had this little classical guitar, so I taught myself how to play a couple of chords, and I went out on the street as like a 12 or 13 or 14 year old and played a few songs. I think I learned like 2 or 3 songs, and I made like £15.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the coolest fucking thing in the world. I will never do anything else. And I was still very much into the metal and the screamo. But when I got my first like iPod or MP3 player or something, I didn't have any like music to put on it. So I just like stole a bunch of music that my dad had on his iTunes, and it wasn't really to my taste. But amongst those songs that I put on my MP3 player, there was Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska. There was a Ryan Adams record. And there was a Josh Ritter record called The Animal Years. And I remember sitting in the back of my parents' car, going to my sister's like dance recital or something, and hearing this song by Josh Ritter called Girl in the War. And it like blew my mind. Like I couldn't believe that music with legible, not legible, audible, like non-screamo lyrics could be so like profound. I was probably like 15, 16. And I just listened to it over and over and over and over again. And then I went home and I wrote my first ever song, which was probably complete garbage. But that was like probably the most pivotal moment of like my musical life. Just hearing a song that just like completely changed my view of what music could be and like how you can tell a story through music. And I will remember that moment for the rest of my life, for sure.
Yeah, I think the storytelling part, rings true, especially in a couple of songs of yours that I absolutely love and fucking tear me to bits. But there's
thanks, man.
There's this thing that I think a lot of bands and songwriters sometimes lose focus and it is the storytelling aspect of creating a song. Coming up with that vision in your head. I liken it to when I hear a song and immediately I have a music video playing in my head. That's when you got me.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Karl, how about you?
So I grew up in quite a musical household. My mom is like basically a piano teacher, not by profession, but just by ability. And so she really forced all of me and my siblings to do music. And I wasn't super interested in it, but music was always around the house. I remember as a little kid really being captivated by, the most simple kind of pop songs at the time. I think Backstreet Boys were a really big thing. So when I was a really little kid, that was my first cassette. And then as I got older, I started taking guitar lessons. My mom forced us to do classical, but I knew kind of what I really wanted to do was play rock guitar. And I had started listening to like some of the bigger rock bands at the time, which was a lot of pop punk. And over the years, getting close to high school, got into heavy metal. And then when I was about 16 years old, I had decided that like, I feel like I'm good enough to play in a band now. But none of the high school kids around me really wanted to take music as seriously as I did. So I was growing up in Oakville at the time, near Toronto, and I found these guys who were much older than me out in Scarborough on the other side of Toronto, who were playing in a heavy metal band. And so when I was 16, I quit all sports and I just said, music is my thing now. And overall, I think that was such an important experience for me because these guys were kind of signed to a record label in Toronto. And so that was where I first got my taste of not only playing with people who were as passionate as I was, but also recording with them and playing gigs with them. And I sort of saw how it should be done from quite a young age. I left that band to go to university. And around that time is when I decided to take the next step, which was not just writing songs from a compositional standpoint, but writing song lyrics. And so I just started doing that in first year university. And it was ultimately my goal to use university as a way of meeting people to do this with. And then I met Sasha when I was in second year. He was in first year. And we really just got along. And that was probably my biggest moment of this is the kind of people you're supposed to meet. They're as interested as you are. Let's just go with it. And yeah.
I think it's hearing all your guys' stories, the metalhead crew who has now gone on to make straightforward rock and roll music with, a brass section, if you will. I think that's it's a brilliant way to lead to where you are. And I think a lot of people who don't know about you may be very surprised that you were all three basically metalheads.
Yeah, I think all of us were all six of us to a certain degree were metalheads and still are. Still some of my favorite bands are like hardcore bands and metal bands. It's funny how we all just kind of came to that thing of like, I don't know how to play gent guitar, but like I could play 4 chords and write like a song.
Yeah, well, I to me it makes perfect sense because like metal, when it hits you at a certain age, it's got the right amount of angst to get you really emotional about it, and it feels like super meaningful. But also the emphasis on like virtuosity and technical skill, like will make you really practice your instrument a lot.
Oh, without a doubt. That's why, when you look at kids that go to get guitar lessons, a lot of them quit immediately because they're being taught such technical stuff and all they want to know is, the 4 chords to create a song and then move on from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was never good at math or many things. And music theory always felt to me like math. And as a result, I just hated it. And I was like so impatient. And I was like, okay, I can play a G, I can play a D, I can play an E minor, I can play a C. I can call myself a guitar player now. Kind of came back to bite me in the ass now that I'm almost 30 and like still having to fucking learn how to play my instrument. But
well, it comes through as if it sounds like on your recordings. I haven't had the opportunity to see you live yet, but it sounds like you know how to play your instrument. So
I'm surrounded by very, very talented musicians.
Studio magic, baby.
I mean, don't sell yourself short, Jonas. I mean, like, I can sit here and give you compliments about your guitar playing and your songwriting and all that, but one thing that I will give the Wilderness, even as a person who like saw the band play before I was in the band, is that like, yes, it's straightforward rock and roll music in a lot of ways, and like the package that we want it to come off in overall is like straightforward, easy listening rock and roll music. But I think that like that little kernel of wanting to be a bit virtuosic really shows in subtle ways with this band. Like, I'll give a compliment to Karl. Karl is a very melodic bass player, right? This man is not just playing big potato root notes on the bass. He's writing really cool melodies. Henry, our drummer, is like really good at making drum beats that are very catchy and very driving and like sound simple. And then you watch him do it and it's like he's an octopus. Liam, our keyboard player, like he's a metalhead too. And like the keyboard parts that he writes aren't like crazy arpeggios like Dream Theater, but like the way that they add to a song, is so valuable from like a tone standpoint and a warmth standpoint and like an orchestration standpoint. I think we kept like a little bit of that want to be virtuosic with us, and it's still there subtly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like on the new album, there's little moments that, and a lot of them are my favorite moments on the album, where I can at least pick out like, oh, this sounds like metalheads who are trying to make more straightforward rock. I
mean, we literally used the Gojira amp simulator on one riff in one of the songs, and it's like maybe my favorite part of the whole album.
Oh, it gets me going.
That's awesome. And speaking of songs, and we'll go to as of this recording right now with what you have released. And the same question will apply to everyone. And I'll go to Jonas first. Is you look at it this way: you're only going to have one opportunity to impress someone with one of your songs that's currently out in the world, released. What song of yours would you play for them?
Oh, that's a really good question. Wow, it's so hard. I feel so attached to so many of them, and I feel like a lot of them would be that tracked, but it really depends on who's listening. But I think if you're just sort of talking about somebody who's completely new to the Wilderness, has never heard of the band before, like kind of unbiased, anything like that, I'd probably hit them with Strangers I Used to Love, because
asked me where we were going, but you slept in the back seat. I rolled down the windows and drove across the country. There's some places I want you to see. The house in the hills where I spend my summers is hotter than hell, and it keeps getting harder. There's a town in the valley with cobblestone streets. I'll skip rocks in the river while you lie next to me, and we bump into someone who reminds me of something that I can't explain, because now it means nothing. I'm making small talk with strangers who I used to love about Canadian winters and how much it hurt to get those tattoos on my fingers and what it means. Do they see a stranger when they look at me? Life has been good, nothing too crazy. My sister got married, she's having a baby. It's so good to see you. How have you been lately? My mom's doing well, and my dad fucking hates me. They talk about someone, it reminds me of nothing. I try to remember, am I supposed to feel something? There's a voice in the air, and I've heard it before. I spill my guts, and now the anger's not the same anymore. I'm making small talk with strangers who I used to love about Canadian winters and how much it hurt to get those tattoos on my fingers and what it means. Do they see a stranger when they look at me? I'm counting on my blessings and cutting my losses. I'm letting go of anger and the time that it cost me. Fell in love with my regrets. I'm sick of the shame. I'm living, breathing, screaming. I've got blood in my veins. Do you need me here? Should I come home? Do you need me here? Should I come home? Do you need me here? Should I come
Because it's like right off the top, it kind of beats you over the head with the chorus. I think the chorus is probably the catchiest chorus that we've ever written. And then within 20 seconds, you're into the story. And by 40 seconds, you're back at the chorus again. Yeah, that's a really tough question, because like, I feel like depending on who's listening, people could be drawn to a bunch of different songs. And it's so hard for me to pinpoint one that I think is like the song that is the win people over song. But I think I'll probably go with Strangers I Used to Love right now. And it's also the leading single off the new record.
Yeah, and I posed that question because it's you have to go into it blind. You don't know who's on the other side of the wall, but you got to pick a song that because I always look at it this way too. Like, what's your favorite song you've released to date? Because that can be completely different than what you would play for someone.
Ooh, that's another really good question.
Yeah, this is the pick your favorite child segment of the show.
Wow. I'm really fond of 25 off Until Tomorrow.
Okay, so you and I are on. So I have all my notes here, my handwritten notes, and so I have 4 songs written down that I would play for someone or are my favorite, and Strangers and 25 are 2 of them. So we're
amazing
lockstep. And
that's awesome.
I have 2 other ones. So
I think I do love Strangers. I do love 25. We don't play 25 very often, but I am very, very proud of that song.
I can understand why, because my notes right next to it, I wrote heart-wrenching. Maybe that's why you don't play it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there was one show that we played it in this town called Cornwall, Ontario, which is, it's a blue collar, like hard working town full of really good people. They don't get a ton of live music. It's a kind of a town that's kind of been beaten down over the years, and I feel like as a band we've really gravitated towards places like that, and Cornwall has been particularly good to us. And there was one show that we did there last summer. No, 2 summers ago. Yeah, 2022. And it was sold out. There was 1,200 people outside. And usually, like, I kind of just like have my eyes closed for that song. And we have in-ear monitors too. So I wasn't really aware of what was going on. Like, because I had my eyes closed, I couldn't really hear anything else other than what was going on. And then I opened my eyes at one point, and like, there was like hundreds of people like singing that song, like back to us. And there was one guy in the front row who was like that big dude, like fucking tough guy, just like sobbing. And when that started, like, I just like fucking collapsed. I just could, like, I could not keep singing it without crying. It was a really beautiful moment. I was a complete mess up there, but it was just like so unexpected, you know, like I really, of all the songs to really connect, in Cornwall, I wasn't really expecting it to be that one. I was expecting it to be like more of like a raucousy, like rock song, but that one, I guess, really struck a chord with people, and just to see it connecting with so many people in that way, it was just a really, really profound moment to me.
Tough guys can have hearts too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of the toughest guys I know.
Extremely humble too.
Yeah.
I am not a tough guy.
Says the guy who puts on a tool belt to go into town just so they respect him.
That's right. I don't go to the hardware store without a tape measure on me because I need people to think that I know what I'm talking
The
about.
guy who's bad at math has a tape measure. I love it.
I don't know how to read it.
All right, Nick, how about you? What's the song that you would play for someone blindly that you would say best describes the band?
Oh boy, howdy.
I'm just looking to cause some strife in between, you know, some band strife too, for everybody picking something different, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay. No, I would agree with Jonas. I would say Strangers is the song
Pop
right
out.
now.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I know. It's our leading single. Jonas is right. It's poppy, it's catchy, but it also like has all the ingredients that make us what we are, you know? Like, it's got impactful lyrics. It's got like a really sweet guitar part in it. There's still saxophone. It's more of a texture at the end with the baritone following Karl's bass part than like a ripping sax solo or anything. But it's like, it's meaningful. And I think what gets me about that one is, like you said, the two that stuck out in your mind are Strangers I Used to Love and 25. And like, yes, I would show 25 to someone if they were like, I want you to hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be really upset with that.
Yeah. What do you have what do you have that's going to castrate me right now? And that's it.
but Strangers I Used to Love, like, it still has a lot of emotional weight to it, wrapped up in this package of like very catchy poppy sound. Because like for the longest time, our like big hit song, and I guess it still is Dancing in the Dive Bars, right? And that is like a feel good song. It's got a cheesy sax solo, which I love. It's good cheese. You know, it's very dancey, and like people love singing that one. But Strangers I Used to Love is like this perfect blend of like what we're trying to do in our songwriting, and also like the fact that we don't want to write fluffy lyrics. We want to write about stuff that really matters to us. So I would pick that one, even considering my bias that it is the leading single off of our first album. Our next album.
And to be perfectly honest, you know, not to, you know, joking around and everything, but it is the song that I've sent to multiple people. I've shared it with them and said, yeah, if you want to get a taste of this band, listen to this first and then go dive into all their other stuff.
That's awesome.
Receipts. I love it.
Yeah. Karl, are you jumping on the bandwagon here? You got something different?
It's really hard to disagree with Strangers I Used to Love being it, so I won't bore you with all my concurrence with my bandmates, but I have two other answers, and it just largely comes from my taste, and I really like the upbeat ones because I really love performing, and like the upbeat ones are so much more fun to perform live for me. So I really like Virginia Sapphire as a track to show people, because it's like, it's upbeat, it's melodic, it's also got that storytelling aspect to it, but also it has that, again, that smidgen of technicality in the breakdown where we're not quite in the same time signature. And yeah, the production on that song is fantastic. Shout out to Terry Ben for his fantastic recording and production abilities. And then my other answer, what was my other answer?
For your favorite?
Shit. Now I've forgotten it. It was Virginia Sapphire and oh Christ. What are our other songs?
Is it a new song?
Am
No,
I in a
no,
band?
it was quite an old one, actually.
Graveyard, 81 South, Dive Bars, Virginia Sapphire,
Pick You Up.
American Rage, Pick You Up, If I Have to Die.
It wasn't any of those. Shit.
81 South.
No, it wasn't 81 South. Although that one is also very fun to play. Well, whatever. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. Virginia
Okay.
Sapphire.
Yeah,
Nick, what about you? What was your favorite?
What is my just favorite song
Yeah, favorite wilderness song.
that we have? Oh, that's a hard question. Favorite song.
Sorry, I remember. Jumping back in.
This show is all about Karl.
Christina.
Ah,
yeah.
oh my
that-
god! So I have here. You want to know the 4 songs that I have that I've led people to in different directions? It's Strangers,
Yeah.
Pick You Up, Christina, and 25.
Oh, fuck yeah. I think
Those are my 4.
Those are my top 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard question for me to answer because I live in like little tiny moments. I find like little smidgens of songs that are my favorite thing. Right now, my favorite thing about the song that we just put out, Garden of England, is this part that's like kind of like a bridge where I wrote a really cool guitar arpeggio that Liam also plays, and it's very subtle and the tonality shifts in the song, and like I love that little part of that song. Is it my favorite song? I don't know how to pick a favorite song, but I like little moments like that.
Because you wrote it. I mean,
Well,
being captive as long as you have, you felt useful, I guess.
it is very
bit.
validating. It is very, very validating. But other honorable mentions, okay, the Gojira part in one of the songs that we haven't put out yet.
I'm stoked for people to hear that one.
So, like, is that my favorite song? Don't know. Is that my favorite Gojira riff that we have? Yes. Favorite chord probably goes to the chord that happens on this phrase that reads "That's Showbiz, Baby" in a song called Hollywood Boulevard, which is not out yet, or the last chord on this song we put out on Patreon called "The Arboretum," which is really, really nice and pretty. I could pick little favorite moments, but I will abstain from picking a favorite song altogether.
Coward.
So with all the music that you've created together and as many shows, you guys are extremely hardworking. You've played hundreds upon hundreds, maybe thousands of shows maybe at this point. But is there a moment that stands out for you, Jonas, of performance besides, tough guy crying in the front that for better or worse always like occupies a space in your brain of a moment of a performance?
Yeah, there's been a couple. It's really hard to choose because we've done so many shows, and like some of the best shows really have been like the most bullshit ones as well. Like, where we've driven however many thousands of miles or whatever, and to play to 3 people, and then the 6 of us end up just kind of having a good time. There have been shows where there's hundreds and sometimes thousands of people. There was one that kind of springs to mind. It was 2021 actually. There was a music festival in town. It was like the first music festival since the pandemic, and it existed for this little window of opportunity where between lockdowns, like things were looking okay for a bit. And it was a really stressful afternoon. There were very, very short, tight changeovers, and it was like 35 degrees Celsius, so hot Fahrenheit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Math.
I don't know, like 90 something degrees Fahrenheit. We were in the beating hot sun. And anyway, in the changeover, like I didn't realize this, but like the beating hot sun was like shining right down on the front of house mixer. So we started the first song, which was Pick You Up, and the front of house mixer just died and rebooted. But our in-ears were still going. But I was looking out at the crowd and people were just looking really confused because nothing was coming out of the PA. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I took one of my ears out and I was like, oh shit, like nothing's coming out, like fuck. And we get to the chorus of Pick You Up, and on the album we play right through it. But when we play it live, we all drop out for the first chorus and let the crowd sing along with us. And so we got to that point, we were just playing on, like the show must go on, whatever, the front of house will figure out the PA stuff. We all dropped out, and just like, there was like 5,000 or 6,000 people there that day. Like there were just so many people like singing along that part, like let me pick you up, and everyone's just fucking gunning it and going with us because they know that there's something wrong. And then right before we all come back in, so it's like, let me pick you up, drive her to the West End. And then we come back in like fucking balls hard for listening to your favorite songs. Like literally like a second before we came back in, the front of house PA like booted back up and it just like punched like the biggest like shockwave through the crowd and everyone went crazy. And it was just like one of those moments where it was like, oh, this technical difficulty, like
Just made a moment.
it made like such a moment, and we just played with so much gusto and we had such a great show. And then I stepped off stage. I was so hot. I poured ice cold water over my head, went into shock, started hyperventilating, and
that's not the
ended
best
up on a
thing to do.
stretcher. But it was a fucking great day.
Wow. How about you, Karl? You have a moment in time that just locks into this hold of your brain and your memory that you'll just never forget.
I don't really have a good reason for not forgetting it, but it's one of those moments that just lives rent free in my head for some reason. We used to do these gigs that were, we didn't love doing them. They were like basically cover show gigs where we'd have to drive 3 or 4 hours to the GTA. We would have to learn a bunch of covers and we would just entertain these people with the songs that they already knew. And we'd get paid $300 for the pleasure of doing it. And we were playing this gig at Molly Bloom's, which is a little club in London. One of those Irish pubs that pretends to be Irish, but then at night it actually just becomes a club. And
My least favorite place on planet.
Guinness during the day, tequila and vodka at night.
I will say this. I hate that place with every fiber of my soul.
it was not a fun place to play. It just wasn't our crowd. It was a real hodgepodge of people. But in this sea of like 20-year-old college kids who were just partying because we were playing, Chainsmokers songs or Are You Gonna Be My Girl by Jet or something, there was this one older guy who was a little overweight, and he was just sitting at a table that was more or less in the middle of the dance floor, and he was watching our set so intently, and he was loving it, just having the best time. And like every once in a while during the set, I'd look, is he still there? And he was there from the beginning to the end, which was probably about 4 hours. And as we're packing up, and there's still these 20-year-olds trying to get last call drinks, we just finished. He just raises his big pint glass of Stella and goes, 3 cheers for the wilderness. Hip, hip, hooray.
And no one joined in.
No one joined in. But I just love that image, and it'll live forever in my head.
That's awesome. Nick.
Oh boy. I get imposter syndrome a lot. And so the moments that stand out to me are like anytime I can identify people like actually really connecting with the thing that we're doing. And a couple that stand out in my head, like we played a gig at the Horseshoe Tavern not that long ago. And we were playing our last song, I think. It was Dancing in the Dive Bars. And the power like went out in the Horseshoe Tavern. So you couldn't, like the lights were gone. You could barely hear a thing. And
No, the PA was still working. It was like whatever circuit that was in charge of all of the lighting in that building and maybe in that block. But for some reason, the PA didn't go out, which was crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Sorry.
So, no. The crowd could still hear us, but the lights all went out, and so everybody just pulled out their phones and started shining lights on us and sang the tune. And I was like, this is why we do this, right? Like this moment of connection. I remember the first time we played Strangers I Used to Love live was like this past June, I think, here in Kingston. And there was a handful of my family members in the audience, and that was really lovely. And we're all excited. We're like, oh, we're going to debut this song. I hope that it goes well. And there's that line at the end of the second verse about like my mom's doing well and my dad fucking hates me. And we were all like wondering whether that one was going to hit home or not. And like there was a cousin of mine in the audience who I like locked eyes with when Jonas sang that phrase, and I watched like my cousin's face just like turn white, and she laughed really hard. We had a good moment about that afterward. It's like it's those little moments for me that really really do it. And actually, I'll share one tiny other little one. Jonas, you can help me cite my sources on this. Was it Clarence who described his job as being a professional Bruce watcher?
It's Max Weinberg, the drummer of the E Street Band.
Right. Okay. So I feel like my job as the saxophone player in the wilderness is to be a professional Jonas watcher sometimes. And I remember playing at this place in Calgary called Broken City with a stage that's like about big enough for a 3-piece jazz band and nothing else. And everybody having a terrible, terrible time. We were all very grumpy. And so I made it my mission to figure out how to get the band in a good mood. And I don't think anybody in the audience cared about this, but I had a vibra slap with me that I was trying to play at like the most inappropriate times in the songs until everybody felt better so that we could have a good show. And it worked slowly but surely. And so I think those are a few of my favorite moments. It's like, again, trying to find like little joys in what we do. That's what does it for me.
Yeah, those memories are things that if you could bottle up to, and when you need them, they're always going to be there. That's why I always ask for that thing that just occupies in your head, because you can be having a shitty day and something good that you remember pops in your head and you're just like, oh, okay, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
Those are the moments like that we live for. I think those moments are the reason why we do this and continue to do this after almost a decade.
Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for you. If you didn't do what you do, we wouldn't be talking to each other right now, which is the best part of my day, is being able to talk to you guys about your music, because it's so important. And I don't think people truly who aren't artists or creators understand how much it takes to do what it is you do. And it's important what you do. And for me to be able to sit here and say thank you is really the best part of my day. So
it means a lot to us that anybody at all cares enough about our band to listen to the music and come see us play. So, that validation alone is so incredible. And we're incredibly grateful that we have been able to do this for 10 years almost, and that we continue to do this.
Yeah. Don't stop now.
We won't. I got nothing else. It's either this or being a bartender till I die.
All right. How about for each of you? I'll start with Karl this time. Is there a band in your life that you constantly turn to that just never, they don't let you down? It's that moment when you don't know what you want to listen to, but you always end up putting on this one band or artist because you know it's everything you're looking for, even though you're looking for something else.
Yeah, there's a couple, and they've changed over the years. Recently, I've just been in a really big like punk phase, and so because of that, Viagra Boys are one of those guys.
Yeah.
Those guys are out of Sweden, and they make some really good, groovy, grimy instrumentals, and their lyrics are also hilarious. And then the other one in a similar vein is Idols. They are another punk band out of England, and they just have such a creative approach to music production, and their most recent record, it's just as good as all the others. And like I've loved everything they've put out. They have an amazing sort of breadth of songwriting where they write about things as emotional as losing your unborn child, to why hypermasculinity is just degrading the men of the UK, or why the monarchy's stupid.
Fuck the king.
And they like politically, I love their messages, and also I love that they've sort of taken musical influence from what is traditionally like sort of a problematic right-wing brand of music, oi punk, and they've sort of reclaimed that, and it's just awesome music that gets my blood pumping.
Yeah, I think watching Idols from afar too, which I think is really a cool thing from the first moment I noticed them to where they are now, and talking to many people around the globe, they've kind of turned into almost how like AC/DC was for every band in the 80s. Like they're band's band now. Like they're everybody in a band can just find some like common bond with Idols, and I think that's like super fucking cool to have that back, because it was always I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and that was always AC/DC was a band's band. Like everybody was listening to AC/DC before we went out on stage, right? And
Yeah.
it was just like it got you pumped. And now Idols has kind of like taken that throne in today's world, at least from what I've seen and what from talking with bands, like they've become that. And it's awesome to see a band like that be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, like listening to how the guitar players there approach the guitar is so refreshing, especially coming from a punk perspective of, like it used to just be fast, messy guitar, and now it's guitar that is treated much more like a synth, or like it's treated like a totally different instrument that's there for texture and for like aesthetic, and the parts sound simple and almost like they're mistakes, but are actually incredibly intricate or hard to play.
Yeah. And Nick, how about you?
Can you reiterate the question really
Yeah.
quickly? It's like an album that you keep coming back to.
Well,
or
a
keep
band,
coming
like
back
an
to?
artist that never lets you down, that you find yourself when you're searching for something to listen to, you just automatically go to them, even while you're doom scrolling for other music. It's just a band that you constantly turn to that never lets you down.
Okay, I will give you 2 short and sweet answers. The first is Bob Reynolds. He is my favorite tenor saxophone player. I think that his tone is just like what the saxophone should sound like, and he's such a good improviser. And anytime I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to listen to, it's like I'll just listen to Bob Reynolds, because he's like everything I want to be in a saxophone, as a saxophone player. And the other answer is a group called Morphine, who are also a saxophone-centric band. They're a 3-piece band with just like bari sax,
old school
drums.
band. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so you know those guys.
Yes, I do.
I must have listened to that Cure for Pain album like 100 times, because I loved like the crossover of like half rock, half jazz, the way that the saxophone was such a melodic instrument, but also rhythmic instrument, the way that Mark Sandman plays bass as if it was a slide guitar, like the lyricism, which is like heavy, but also very catchy. I think every time that I remember that band exists, I listen to that band, and I have not liked them any less since I started listening to them when I was like 15.
Yeah, and they're a band that was it was one of those things. They were just ahead of their time, right? Like they came in the 90s, like they were doing something that was completely different, where it almost caught on, but just didn't.
Well, yeah, and then like they've only got a handful of records. They're all very different because Mark Sandman died, but like all of it is just like it's worth a listen in my opinion. And it hasn't gotten old for me yet.
No, there was a unique sound. There was a little pocket in Massachusetts of bands that were doing something that was completely different. I mean, I think the label was called, and don't hold me to it, but I'm trying to go back to my memory. I think it was called Sonic Bubblegum was the record label, and it was out of Massachusetts. But there were all these different bands that were doing something that I loved, but it was just on the precipice of like where it could go to everybody, but you kind of just had to be a music fan to love it.
Yeah.
Jonas, how about you? Band that you constantly turn to, never let you down.
Man, there's like a couple. I mean, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter like if I could have had the worst day of my life, but if I put on Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen, I'm in a better mood. That is like one of my favorite songs of all time. I want it at my wedding and my funeral, bands, it's so hard. Like there's a lot of Bruce that I love, but like even though I'm like a self-proclaimed like Bruce Springsteen like maniac, I don't necessarily think he's the guy I put on like every time. I think the Gaslight Anthem, specifically Handwritten, that record, I have loved it like every single time I've listened to it, start to finish, since it came out in 2012. That was a very formative album for me. That was very much like a formative record for like my musical career. And then there's this band called The Main, who are from Phoenix, Arizona, who I've been listening to since I was about 14 years old. I feel like I've grown up with them because the music that they put out in 2007 is so different from how it is now. And every record that they put out, it's matured. It's kind of grown very much with me throughout the course of my life. And each album that they put out is ever so slightly different from the next. And it's always just like a little bit more refined than the last. I have so much respect for them as a band too. They're independent. They've done a really, really good job. And I take a lot of inspiration from them. And I'd be hard pressed to put on a song of theirs that I don't like. And then also again, like Josh Ritter as well. I know that's a really bad answer because I've answered like 6 different answers, but that's hard. Jesus. Yeah.
Brett, you're so complex.
I know. I'm just so interesting.
Fucking
It's just
layers
really hard
like
to pin you
onions.
I know. I'm like Shrek.
Yeah. Yeah. There is. I love how you described like the main for yourself, where it's being able to grow up with a band and mature with them at the same time. I think there's sometimes too where there's bands that, you know, stuff isn't going to hold up when they don't grow up, right? Like you look at a Blink 182, you know, songs
Yeah.
that they wrote when they were 17. I'm sorry, they're not going to translate when they're playing them when they're 50.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
At some point you need to mature a little. And, you know, I did like Blink 182 when they broke up, and Angels and Airways I loved, and
Yeah, me too.
you know, Plus 44 and all the other stuff that was going on. I even liked the
Boxcar Racer.
Boxcar Racer. I like the Skiba version of Blink 182. I think Skiba brought some awesome, like, more maturity to it and changed the sound a little bit, and I enjoyed that as well. But, you know, it's that maturation process and creating music that kind of needs to happen for you to evolve, right, as
Yeah.
an artist too.
Like I go back and I listen to Blink-182 and I just get like super nostalgic because I'm like, oh yeah, like I feel like I'm like 13 again.
Yeah.
You know, but like I can listen to like The Main, for example, and like, yeah, like, you know, the music that they put out in 2007, I'm not necessarily listening to it anymore, but the music they put out this year, I'm listening to, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. And it's so rare to see a band like have that much longevity in a career and kind of break out from like this sort of like pop punk thing and like retain a fan base and retain like so much sort of musical integrity. Like there isn't a song of theirs that I don't like.
Nice. All right, so I think I know your answer, Jonas, so I'll start with Nick first. Meteor's going to crash into the earth. You have 5 minutes left to live, and you have to listen to one song before everything goes away. What song are you listening to?
Oh God, this is a question I need to study for. Oh my goodness.
I think Jonas's is Thunder Road.
It is Thunder Road, and
Yeah.
it's it's like 5 minutes long, so
Yeah.
it's perfect. Go out in a blaze of glory.
Oh no, I actually have to think about this. I'm sorry, Carl, you do it.
Do I get however much time the song lasts? Because
Well,
then
no,
I would
you-
go.
No,
because
Yeah,
then I
you
would
can't
just
go
say a change
Anagata
of
Davida
season.
or anything. Like, you can't go do that. You only get 5 minutes of listening time.
Okay, only 5 minutes of listening time. Then I'd probably just play Hall & Oates by Idols, and I'd probably have enough time to play it twice.
Nice.
Oh boy. I'm not ready for this. I have not accepted the inevitability of death.
Oh well, you better start accepting it, bud.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so if I'm improvising here, then maybe I'd put on like Samuel Barber's Adagio for strings and just sit with it. There's no lyrics to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can just sit there and deal with it. Maybe this is a cheesy answer. There's an old Scottish song, The Parting Glass, which probably everybody knows, and there's some really good arrangements of it. Like, I arranged a version of that to sing with a group when I was at Fort Henry, and like I would like maybe some friends of mine to sing that kind of thing after I die. But since I'm not dead yet, and I might as well have a good time while I'm about to die, probably like Super Trooper by ABBA. Like,
Yeah.
that way I don't have to think about the fucking meteor that's about to hit me in the head.
Giant.
I'd like to change my answer.
Okay.
I would I would listen to "There's a Meteor Coming" by Trevor Moore.
I would like to change my answer to the Benny Hill song.
You just get to picture old women running around in their underwear.
Oh my God, that'd be nice.
Yeah, see, I'll never forget mine. Mine's tattooed on my arm, so I have the...
What's yours?
Mine's Over the Rainbow, as done by Ray Charles.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Meteor.
Yeah, that's how that one goes.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a new way to come out to all your shows now. Just come out to Benny Hill. So you
The
remember.
ultimate walk-on song.
Yeah, facts. Well, after some technical difficulties we had starting today, I'm glad that we finally, got this done. And before we move on to our final segment, I'd like to give you guys the opportunity, whoever wants to spout out all your stuff of how everybody can keep in touch and keep track of what the Wilderness is doing. So you can, as I try to tell everyone, as you can go and find their stuff and purchase their merchandise directly from them, so they actually make money.
Yes, thank God.
Please do so. So if you
Please.
can, let everybody know how to do that, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. www.thewildernessband.com. You'll find all of our tour dates. You'll find a bunch of links to social media. You can buy our merch. And if you are so inclined, we have a Patreon page. Patreon literally keeps this band afloat. You get access to things first, including mixes of new material and our new album and so on and so forth. So I would say the two best ways to keep up to date with us would be to go to our website, and through our website you can find our Patreon and the rest of our social media. And we would like to thank everybody who follows us on all forms of social media, in particular our fans and patrons on Patreon, without whom this band would simply cease to exist. So what is the Patreon link, Nick?
It is just at The Wilderness on Patreon. And I want to mention that the page is essentially pay what you can. I know people are weary about subscription models, but literally you can throw $1 in there and you'll get access to all our demos, all the new songs we post, early access to videos, all sorts of behind the scenes stuff. So it's very much worth it. It's our fan club. It's our fan community. Go check it out.
Nice. Now that's a band, pay what you will. And if you are a good human being, you will pay more than that $1. But I'm just going to put that out there. But we are in our final segment of the show. It is our weekly threes. Since there are three of you, you each get one. I get my three, but it's something you're listening to right now that you would like others to check out. Who wants to go first? I'll call it Karl because he usually has the answers right away.
Yeah. If I'm going to promote anything from other artists, I would love to promote the band who were Kingston started, and I think they're Toronto-based now. They're called Lost Cousins. They put out a record very recently that I absolutely love. It's very symphonic, synth-heavy, and just it's an aesthetic. It's a mood.
Nice.
Oh yeah. I would also. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to promote one of our friends' bands. There's a band from Thunder Bay called the Honest Heart Collective.
I absolutely love them.
We adore them. We're huge fans of theirs. We're good friends of theirs. Ryan was an integral part of one of our songs on this next record, and we've toured and played shows with them before. And I'm listening a lot to this song of theirs called "Suffocate." You should check that out. "Suffocate" by the Honest Heart Collective.
Nice. Nick.
Those were the best two answers. What have I been listening to lately? I've been listening to Masayoshi Takanaka, which is like Japanese jazz fusion from the 70s. And I've been listening to that for ages because it's my favorite. I love it. But, oh God, if you want to check out a cool local band, there's a group here in Kingston called the Codas, which are putting out new music soon. They're also opening our album release show on April 12th. And I admire their songwriting a lot. I admire their singer, Braden, and his voice a lot. And they have the tightest rhythm section around including the Wilderness.
Hey.
Nice. All right. So my 3 for this week. First one is a band called Hold Fast, and it's Hold Fast with a period at the end of it. They have an EP called Break Out of the Mold. They're like out of Colorado. It's like a pop rock. Don't like to label things, but I guess I have to, so you know what you're getting into. The next one is a band called Kids That Fly. The name of the album is Tracks of the High Line, alternative pop rock from Connecticut. And last but not least is a band called Worry Club. The name of the album is All Frogs Go to Heaven. Just great indie rock out of Chicago. But those are the 3 bands that I've been rocking to this week.
I like the name of that. All Frogs Go to Heaven. That's dialed.
But Nick, Karl, Jonas, I said it earlier in the show, but I want a huge heartfelt thank you for what it is you do and continue to do. And thank you so much for creating the music that brought us together and made me want to reach out to you, because it's extremely special. It's great work. I cried, I laughed, I danced a little to everything that you put out. So I mean, it really is awesome work that you guys do. And I'm so excited for the new album to come out. And I'm so excited for more people to find out who the Wilderness are, and for them, to all attach themselves to you from your stories today. And hopefully you become their new favorite band.
Oh, thank you so much, Shane. That means so much to us. It really does, man.
Yeah, thank you for having us on, helping us promote ourselves and helping us to keep doing the thing.
It is a privilege to talk about music with your friends. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And everybody, you know what time it is now. It's time to go out, listen to the Wilderness, and have a great fucking time.
Do you remember 17? We abandoned hope in Jesus, slipped into new bad routines. I started smoking roll-up cigarettes that made it hard to breathe. And your mom didn't know about me 'cause you'd call when she fell asleep. Your family was just like mine. We both grew up with a fear of God, getting dragged to church on Sundays. We were forced to sing along, and we bonded over mutual distrust in a faith where we didn't belong. We found common ground in rock bands, and we learned to play their songs. Now it's been years since I've seen ya. I hope you're well, Christina, where are you now? And I swear I'll grow my hair back out. We'll let them down like we're still young. I still listen to all of our favorite bands. We don't get old. We won't get old. Drinking, I've seen you. It's been years since I've seen you. It's been years since I've seen you. Years since I've seen you. It's been years since I've seen you. Who are you now, Christina? And I swear I've grown my hair back out, let them down like we're still young. Do you listen to all of our favorite bands? Do they get old? Do we get old? And I swear I've grown my hair back out, let them down like we're still young. I don't listen to all of our favorite bands 'cause they got old. 'Cause I got
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.